to be king!
You're never gonna look back, 'cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast.
You welcome in. Movie recap. Vikings series. Summary of the 6th season of the Vikings series, Part 1. If you haven't seen previous seasons, in the description below the video. The season begins after Bjorn becomes the king of Kattegat, which is celebrated by the people of Kattegat. He told them that he wanted to put Kattegat on the map and that he wanted to make it the most important platform for trade and that he wanted to establish trade relations and alliances. And that Eva's reign is over. Ivar escaped with some of her followers and reached the Silk Road, an ancient route of trade between many nations. And full of merchants, the Ivar will continue to travel from one place to another until it reaches Russia. Eva finds that someone is following him, and everywhere he is pursued. Suddenly, Russian soldiers attack them, and they kill Ivar's henchmen, knowing that the person who was watching him is their snitch to the Russians. When the Russians learn that Ivar is a Viking king, they take him and his servant to meet King Oleg. And King Oleg asks normal questions and why he came here, and Ivar tells him that he is the king of the Vikings and that he is on the run because his brothers took the rule from him and that he is kind. And we know who the king of the Russians were from the Vikings, but they entered the Christian religion a long time ago. Oleg welcomes him to the palace, and Oleg goes to Ivar's servant and tortures him to make sure Ivar's story, and the servant tells him that Ivar is a king and that he is a god. Oleg decides to kill the servant in front of Ivar, and he brought him, bound him hands and feet in different directions, and killed him in a gruesome manner. Ivar is shocked, and in Kattegat, Bjorn decided to punish everyone who helped Ivar. He says they deserve to die for treason, but he decides to banish them, and they live their lives in exile, forbidden to trade or start a family, confiscate their property, and burn them. A scar mark so that all who look at them will know they are exiles. Lagertha decides that she is tired of wars, killing, and blood, and that she wants to set up a farm far away and live out the rest of her life there as she did with Ragnar in the past. Bjorn is not happy with Lagertha's decision, but he agrees because she is happy with her decision. Oleg takes Ivar, and they hold onto a plank. They are tied to a parachute and they are pulled by horses, and they go up to the sky. Ivar is scared and unbelievable he can fly, and Oleg says, "I know you are a god." Their god is afraid, and they fly over the city. In Kattegat, someone delivers a letter from King Harold. He tells him that King Olaf attacked York and King Harold lost and King Olaf captured him. Harold asks for Bjorn's help. King Oleg takes Ivar to a secret place under the palace. There is a sarcophagus with a statue of Oleg's wife on it, and he tells Ivar that he loved his wife very much, crying, and that he killed her because she betrayed him. Ivar remembers his wife, that he loved her, and the similarity between the two stories, and that he also killed her because she betrayed him. Oleg says he will help Ivar in his attack on Kattegat, but he will prepare a big army first and end his troubles in the kingdom with his brothers first. In Kattegat, Kjetil arrives and the Oba meets him and they talk to each other, and Kjetil tells him that he has come to take new settlers to Iceland. Oba was asked about Floki and why he did not come with him. Kjetil says that Floki got bored of the base a long time ago, and one day he disappeared and went, and we searched for him a lot, and we did not find a trace of him. And Oba looks at it like that, and doubt it. And he says on another topic, "I heard about a man who found a large and beautiful land in western Iceland, but a storm swept his boat and pushed him away from this land." Kjetil says he knows the story and that this person lives in a settlement in Iceland and his name is Other. And Oba says he should accept it. And they agreed that Oba would go with Kjetil to Iceland. In Kattegat, Bjorn and his brothers think of saving King Harold, but at the same time he cannot leave Kattegat at the beginning of his reign and go to war, especially after Oba decides to sail to Iceland and Lagertha is going to build a farm and live on her own. He has to think about making Kattegat an important trading area. But King Harold helped Bjorn before and is supposed to help him now, and he can't come up with a solution. And Oba says the decision is up to you, you are the king. And Hvitser continues to drink and take hallucinogenic mushrooms and does not like what his brothers say. And all he wants is to kill Ivar because he burned his lover. Lagertha and Torvi go where Agatha will make her farm. Bjorn, a maid, tells him of her love, and Bjorn refuses at first. But she tries and says he needs luck and that if he loved her he would be better, and rejecting her will lose the war and he is cheating on his wife. King Oleg takes Ivar, and they go to King Oleg's brother Askold. and the little prince Igor. And Ivar knows that King Oleg is called the soothsayer. Ivar is asked why they call it that, and he tells him as soon as they offered him a drink, and he refused to drink, but everyone with him drank and died because the drink was poison. Askold and little prince Igor, and they talk. Ivar plays with little prince Igor and tries to win his friendship. Askold offers them a drink and Ivar will drink, but it is noticed that Oleg did not drink, and Ivar backs off from drinking and returns the cup. And Oleg dances. Askold drinks, poisons the drink, and dies. Oleg takes away Prince Igor and Ivar and finds Askold's soldiers killed. And Ivar is amazed, and Oleg takes the little prince and walks. Oba has gone to Lagertha on the farm she has established and brings Bjorn's children with him. The Oba tells them about Kjetil, and that he doubts his story about Floki, and that he will go with him to Iceland to look for Floki and look for the one who discovered the new land. And Bjorn reaches his mother. He tells them that he has decided to save King Harald and asks Oba and Torvi to postpone their travel and to wait in Kattegat until he returns, and Oba and Torvi agree. And Ivar, Oleg's older brother Dyer, arrives after learning that Oleg killed his little brother, and he threatens him and wants little Prince Igor and never wants to see him again. And we learn that the little Prince Igor is the rightful heir to the whole kingdom, and that whoever will be under his tutelage will rule the whole kingdom. Oleg tells him to leave and that he wants to see him again, but unfortunately he will die in 3 days. And Dyer says, "Do you really believe yourself that you are a clairvoyant? You know nothing. And if you are a real fortune teller, I will ask you a question that no one knows the answer to. I got married secretly a few days ago. Can you tell me what is the name of my wife?" Oleg without hesitation says her name is Katya. Dyer freezes in shock. Oleg moves and Katya appears behind him. And Ivar is dumbfounded and continues laughing and applauding. And Oleg laughs too. Lagertha wears her armor and holds her sword and buries it and swears that she will not kill anyone and that she is tired of wars and blood. In Kattegat, Bjorn goes to Kjetil and tells him that he doesn't believe his story and doesn't believe that Floki left for no reason, and that he will not go to Iceland, and that he will come with him to save King Harald. And the people Bjorn banished had been watching Lagertha on her farm for days. Bjorn goes to King Harald and is bid farewell to his wife and servant Ingrid. They pray and attack at night from inside the water to escape the defenses, but King Olaf knows how to think of Bjorn, and he prepares for them at the onset of dawn and ignites a huge fire along the shore and throws them with fiery arrows and keeps laughing and showing madness on him. And Bjorn tells those with him to go under the water and withdraw. And we see King Harald in prison, and they took King Olaf and gave him food and drink. Tell him he knows Bjorn will come to save him, and King Harald feels hopeful. But Olaf tells him, "You are still my captive," and orders them back to the prison, laughing. And Ivar, Oleg asks how he knew his brother would die in 3 days. Oleg says he does not know. Ivar says, "How did you know his wife and brought her?" Oleg says that his wife was his servant, and it was he who ordered her to go to his brother and fall in love with him and allow him to marry her so that he could control his brother, and that all this was planned by Oleg. At the same time, Oleg's soldiers attacked Dyer, and his soldiers killed his soldiers and captured Dyer. And Ivar returns, and Oleg sees his brother's leashes and puts him in a dog's cage and ties him with an iron face like dogs. Eva takes pity on him. In Kattegat, Hvitserk's condition has worsened greatly from the abundance of hallucinogenic mushrooms and his drink, and he sees delusions and delusions that ghosts haunt him, and that the ghost of his burnt mistress appears to him everywhere. And they all try to help him, stop him from drinking, and get him out of this situation. But he used to see Ivar everywhere in front of him and would rather drink to escape, but the situation is getting worse. Oba will be king in Kattegat until Bjorn comes back and leaves Bjorn's children with Lagertha and takes his wife and goes back to Kattegat and tells them he needs people they trust to send Kattegat representatives to trade. In Lagertha, a group of women living in the surrounding villages went to Lagertha when they heard that she was Lagertha the great warrior. We know that they are all widows and that their husbands died in the wars and that many of them were warriors, but now they are living in peace raising their children. They learned to Lagertha that an exile attacked one of their own and killed her, and the next day, another attack on another, killing and robbing her. They told Lagertha. Then Lagertha decided to break her promise and go to draw her sword again to protect herself and the women. And Sivar befriends young Prince Igor and tells him that he is the true king and heir to the kingdom. Ivar makes a deal with Dyer and helps him escape from the cage and informs Oleg and gets angry, but he doesn't know that Ivar is the one who escaped him. The exiles attack Lagertha and those with her, who defend themselves and prevent them from stealing food. The exiles withdraw, but Bjorn's son emerges, wields a sword, and calls out to Lagertha. And the leader of the exiles sees him, goes to him, kills him, and flees. And Lagertha ran to him and cried, and he died in her arms. Meanwhile, Gunhild sees a dream about Lagertha, and they are at war. and she decides to go to her. Ubba talks to his brother and tries to help him and asks him to travel as an ambassador to Kattegat and go and make trade agreements on the Silk Road. And Bjorn decides to go alone to meet King Olaf. King Olaf said that he wanted to establish a strong union between all the kings and that he wanted to unite Norway, and Bjorn wanted to be the king of all Norway. Bjorn says he does not accept being king. In this way we shall have elections, and all the kings shall vote for someone to be king of Norway over them. They celebrate and invite all the kings, and King Harald comes out of prison. Gunhild reaches Lagertha and learns what happened and decides to stay with her because the exiles might attack again, and Lagertha refuses to stay because she is pregnant, but Gunhild stays. Oleg introduces his girlfriend Kasia to Ivar, and they will get married soon, and Ivar is shocked because she looks like his dead wife, and he feels that something is wrong. And Bjorn pray all the kings and hold the election ceremony. King Olaf explains that each king votes for only one of the candidates. The one and the loudest will be the king of Norway, and there is no backing down. Whoever chooses Bjorn chooses red, and King Olaf began to vote for Bjorn, but he is surprised that the rest of the kings chose King Harald. Harald agreed with every one of them behind Bjorn. Harald won, and was appointed king of Norway as he dreamed. And Obba, the mission is ready, but Hvitserk isn't there and I can't find it. He is still in his delusions and running away from them, and the Obba decides that the mission will go without him. And when the exiled Lagertha attacks them, there is a great confrontation and they can kill many of them. Lagertha is confronted with the murder of Bjorn's son and refuses to have anyone intervene. And it will be a strong battle, and she will be able to kill him, Lagertha, and they are proud that she is a strong fighter, and she is severely injured and decides to return to Kattegat so that Obba knows what happened and tells Torvi that her son is dead. And Bjorn, in celebration, Harald sends people to kill Bjorn, but he can escape from them. And in Kattegat Hvitserk he has hallucinations and sees Ivar in the form of a snake and kills him. It turned out to be Lagertha, and that the fortune teller's prophecy was fulfilled, and that she died at the hands of one of Ragnar's sons, and it turned out that he was Hvitserk, not Ivar, as she expected. Agatha dies and Hvitserk flees. The Obba does not know who killed her, and they are all in grief. They find Hvitserk, but he is not speaking, and Obba suspects that he killed her. Ivar, someone comes with a message from Prince Dyer, saying that he and little Prince Igor prepare to escape and kill Oleg. In Kattegat they have a Lagertha burial ceremony, which is a royal ceremony. One of the murder volunteers to be a servant to Lagertha in Valhalla, and they put her next to her in the ship and burned her. Lagertha descends into the sea, and we see a scene in which she joins Ragnar. Bjorn arrives and finds out what happened. Hvitserk took grief because his brother killed his mother because of drugs and ordered them to be burned alive. But Bjorn looks at Obba, and Obba throws the axe and cuts the rope that binds you and falls into the water and jumps into the water and saves him. Bjorn says he saved him but never wants to see him again and throws him out of the Kattegat. Harald, King Olaf, has been captured, says he is imprisoning him and orders them to imprison him. Obba travels with his wife with Kjetil to Iceland, and Bjorn with the servant Ingrid and his wife caught him, but she says she agrees to a second wife. Prince Harald receives news from his soldiers that soldiers have attacked a village and killed those inside, and says they are Russian Vikings. He gives the flag that they left in the village. Obba arrives in Iceland and learns about the settlers. Obba meets Other, and his wife, Obba, gives birth, and the birth is difficult, but she gives birth, and the child is fine. Obba hears. Other prays to Christ and learns from him his story, and that he was with the Christians years ago, and that he fled from them by sea and faces a storm that swept the ship to the new land and says it is heaven on earth. But he could not set foot on it because the ship was washed away by a storm and lost at sea. He gave Floki's ring to Obba and said Floki had given it to him. And Obba does not know how to believe him, and at the same time wants to reach the new land and decides to sail with him to the new land. Bjorn marries Ingrid, a maid. Bjorngard Erik discovers the presence of Russian soldiers near Kattegat and fights with them, and returns to Bjorn and tells him what happened and gives him the flag. Bjorn tells him to go to King Harald for an alliance, and they should put their differences aside. He goes, but Harald arrogantly refuses to listen to him in the first place. He mocks and beats him, but King Olaf tells him to listen to him, and Bjorn certainly has something important. King tells Oleg, Ivar, that he found Hvitserk and learns from him what happened and that he killed Lagertha. And Oleg prepares his army to attack Kattegat. Bjorn arrives at King Harald of York, and they make a plan of defense and send all the kings to join them, and Harald doesn't like that Bjorn is making the plan. He secretly goes to Bjorn's second wife, Ingrid, and attacks her. Ivar helps Oleg plan the attack on York, saying that they attack from the shore and the river and break the bridge. They reached York and the battle began, but the Russians are too numerous and they burn the defenses, and King Harald withdraws. And the Russians continue to attack the shore, and their ships are very large in number, and King Harald is wounded, and Bjorn Eriksgard takes the crown from him. Ivar and Oleg attack with their modern ships and overrun the bridge. Ivar confronts Bjorn. Ivar kills Bjorn. And the first part of the 6th season ends. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a nice comment like you. See you in the next video.